Alright, I saw this one a few days ago and I almost didn't make this video, but I wanted to get this out there because I've been seeing people talk about it and they're saying it's not that good. And honestly, I disagree and I want to share my thoughts on it. And honestly, if you have that other opinion, that's fine. But I want to defend this movie and kind of show fans that this really is something to check out, especially if you're like a Universal horror or a monster fan. So this is Renfield, and why don't you go ahead and play that intro, Steve? Alright, well, welcome back to the Film Fan Reviews, and if you know me, I'm Steve, and I want to talk about this movie because I really enjoyed it, and honestly, I went with my parents, and they might have enjoyed it even more than I did, and honestly, I'm not surprised my dad did, because he's a big Universal horror guy. I still watch Svengoolie with him all the time, and we grew up watching, like, the Draculas, the Frankensteins, the Invisible Mans, the Wolfman, all that stuff, and honestly, they kind of play with some archive footage from Dracula and put Nicolas Cage in it and do that lighting over the eyes and stuff, and honestly, it's all really stylized and cool, but a lot of the cool stuff in here comes from the humor as well as the horror in here. There's some drama too that I didn't necessarily love, like Awkwafina's whole storyline about her dad and stuff. It was fine and it was good for the story in some parts, but if it wasn't there at all, it wouldn't have been missed, because the major stealers in this movie are Nicholas Hoult and Nicolas Cage. I know Nicholas Hoult from his movies like the X-Men series where he's playing Beast, and even when he played Tolkien in the movie Tolkien, and I know people love that Warm Bodies movie, but I haven't seen it yet, so maybe I'll love him in that too. But Nicolas Cage has been a day one for me. Like, I've loved that guy. Like, Gone in 60 Seconds was a favorite of my childhood for some reason. I'm not even a car guy, so I don't know why, but Pig is fantastic. Pig is his best movie. If you haven't seen that, give it a watch, because it's not really like one of the funny ones, but dramatic-wise, like, that man deserved an Oscar for that role, in my opinion. Such a great movie to go check out as soon as you can, and let me know in the comments if you do. But also, what's your favorite Nicolas Cage movie? I want to know that too, because right now in my head, as much as I really love Pig, I don't know if it's my absolute favorite one. I mean, his performances and stuff like Face Off, that's one of the best performances where you just go, I'm going to turn this up to 11. And honestly, with Renfield, he kind of does the same thing at certain times. I mean, even when he plays Dracula, he has that kind of almost sense of humor, but he goes over the top with it, and it almost plays to the movie in a way. And that might speak to the writing as well, because I can't remember who the other writer is that kind of punched it up probably, but the original idea of the script came from Robert Kirkman, which I personally love. I love his comic writing and like The Walking Dead, and I think it's The Astounding Wolfman that I read years ago or something like that. Really cool comic, but he's a really good writer, and he kind of balances that horror and comedy well. But this one definitely leans into the comedy even more, especially when we had characters like Ben Schwartz. I forget what the character's name is, but he plays it up so much. I mean, he almost is like if John Ralphio became like a drug dealer bad guy in a way from Parks and Rec. John Ralphio, if you don't remember, but
even though honestly she's the worst.
He plays it up so much, and honestly, he's kind of a comic relief in a way where Awkwafina is that as well, but on the good guy side, he's that comic relief on the bad guys in a way. But there's so much in here. The violence is definitely amazing. It kind of plays into the comedy at sometimes too, like people get their arms ripped off and stuff, and the bloody carnage is all over, which sometimes I get annoyed by digital effects, but they kind of balance some digital and some practical stuff too. Like when Dracula's kind of not as up to 100 as he is with all the blood and stuff, you kind of see all the makeup on Nicolas Cage's face, and it is fantastic looking in my opinion. There's a lot of comedy in here, like I said. You're going to be laughing as well as probably screaming, in just so many different emotions. Like the theater I saw on Friday night when it came out, it was a mixture of laughing as well as just and just like couldn't believe the stuff that was happening on screen at certain points. So if you're down to have fun and kind of lean into that stuff, as well as if you're a fan of like Universal horror and not like the dark and depressing stuff that's been in a lot of horror movies lately, which I personally love that for. I love all horror movies, honestly, but this one kind of plays into those classics, especially like the Universal stuff from back in like the 30s and 40s and stuff. So if you're down to see that little time capsule stuff and want to have some fun, go check out Renfield, and please let me know in the comments what you thought about it, and think about subscribing. That'd be pretty dope, and write anything you want in the comments. Make a list down there of movies you'd like me to watch, because honestly, I've been trying to watch some old ones, and maybe I'll put out some more videos soon. I have a whole list that I've been making, and I want you to be a part of it. So please subscribe and join me on this journey, and maybe subscribe to the Adam and Steve Show, and I will see you next time at the movies.